The seaside town of Deauville shimmered under the summer sun. Azure waves crashed against the sandy shore, their rhythmic roar a soothing symphony. Colourful parasols dotted the beach, offering respite from the sun's warm embrace. Laughter and chatter filled the air, painting a vibrant tapestry of seaside life. Amidst this idyllic scene stood Madame de X, her gaze fixed upon the lively spectacle. She had arrived only that morning, seeking solace and rejuvenation by the sea. Yet, a shadow of discontent crossed her features as she observed the interactions around her. The charm of the setting seemed to do little to soften the rough edges of human behavior. A group of young men, their voices boisterous and loud, jostled past her. Not a single one offered an apology for the unintentional bump. A moment later, a gaggle of giggling girls, their eyes glued to a handheld mirror, nearly tripped over her reticule, oblivious to her presence. Disheartened, Madame de X adjusted her parasol and sighed. Was courtesy a forgotten virtue, lost amidst the frivolous pursuits of modern life? The following day, Madame de X decided to venture further afield. She boarded the train bound for Nice, hoping to find some respite from the casual disregard for etiquette she had encountered in Deauville. The rhythmic clatter of the train lulled her into a contemplative silence. Her peace, however, was short-lived. A group of young men, their attire as loud as their laughter, piled into her carriage. They spread themselves across the seats, their belongings spilling onto the floor, paying no mind to the other passengers. One of the young men, his gaze lingering on Madame de X's reticule, brazenly asked about its contents. She politely but firmly declined to engage, her discomfort growing with each passing moment. As the train pulled into the station at Nice, Madame de X disembarked with a sense of relief. The journey had only solidified her belief that the art of civility was fading into obscurity. Seeking refuge from the day's encounters, Madame de X retreated to the elegant confines of her hotel. The Grand Hotel, with its opulent lobby and air of refined luxury, promised a haven from the outside world. Yet, even here, amidst the gilded cages of high society, the same disregard for basic courtesy prevailed. A group of men, their voices booming with self-importance, occupied the plush armchairs in the lobby. They puffed on cigars, filling the air with a thick haze, oblivious to the discomfort of others. A young couple, lost in their own world, carelessly bumped into Madame de X, their apologies mumbled and insincere. A sense of disillusionment washed over her. Was this the society she once admired? A world where self-absorption reigned supreme?
Excuse me, miss.
A few days later, finding herself in Paris, Madame de X decided to stroll along the Champs-Élysées, hoping that the vibrant energy of the city might lift her spirits. As she ambled along the famed avenue, she observed a group of young men assisting an elderly woman with her parcels. Their gestures were small but significant. A steadying hand, a courteous smile, a genuine concern for her well-being.
Thank you, young man. Your kindness is much appreciated.
These young men, their manners impeccable, restored a glimmer of hope in Madame de X's heart. Perhaps chivalry was not entirely lost. However, her moment of optimism was short-lived. An elegantly dressed woman, her face etched with impatience, barged past the elderly woman, nearly knocking her off her feet. The contrast was stark, a poignant reminder of the duality of human nature. That evening, as Madame de X sat alone in her hotel room, her thoughts drifted back to her youth. She recalled a time when courtesy and respect were not mere pleasantries, but the very fabric of social interaction. She remembered the grand balls, where gentlemen vied for the honor of a dance, their manners as polished as their shoes. She remembered the leisurely carriage rides through the countryside where conversations flowed with ease and laughter, unburdened by the weight of social posturing. But most vividly, she remembered the farmhouse dances of her childhood, where the warmth of community and the joy of shared experience eclipsed any pretense or social hierarchy. The air crackled with anticipation as the fiddler tuned his instrument. Lanterns cast a warm glow on the faces of the farmhands and their families, their smiles reflecting the joy of the occasion. The barn, usually a place of toil and labour, had been transformed into a haven of merriment. Young men, their faces flushed with excitement, nervously straightened their bow ties and approached the young women, their hands outstretched in invitation.
Would you care to dance?
No one was left out. No one felt invisible. The dances were a whirlwind of twirling skirts and hearty laughter. Even those who stumbled or missed a step were met with encouragement and good humour. There was a sense of genuine camaraderie, a shared understanding that transcended social standing or material possessions. The memory of the farmhouse dance brought a bittersweet smile to Madame de X's lips. It was a stark contrast to the superficial interactions she had recently witnessed. Had the world changed so drastically, or was it merely her perception, coloured by the passage of time? Perhaps it was a bit of both. The world had undoubtedly changed, swept along by the currents of modernity. But some things, she mused, should remain constant: kindness, respect, and the simple courtesies that made life a little brighter. As she drifted off to sleep, Madame de X couldn't help but wonder if these lost graces were gone forever or merely waiting to be rediscovered by a new generation. The answer, she realised, lay not in lamenting the past, but in embracing the present with open hearts and a renewed commitment to the timeless values of human connection.